Back to the Learning Center at CKLU 96.7 FM, coming to you from Laurentian University. This afternoon we're doing a special show on sport, in particular on hockey. And with me in the studio right now I've got Jim McLoughlin, who is a member of the Valley East Minor Hockey Association Board. And Jim, you're a board member, but you're in charge of the Novice. Are you a convener for the
Convener of the Novice, Bob.
Okay, but you're a board member too?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
As a convener, you're a board member.
So we're August 8th today.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done anything, have we started the planning for the
Registrations?
program, or I guess you've done the planning for the program?
Well, basically, you know what, it's funny, our registrations start in 2 weeks, I believe, a week after next in Valcarn Arena. It's on our website. But anyways, I've been back on the board there for the last, I think this is my sixth year, and our population is growing in hockey, and it's you can tell how many teams, or you can tell where it's going to go by the number of the junior types you get in. When I got back here 6 years ago, I believe we had what did we have, 4, if I'm not mistaken, I think we had 4 junior tykes, 4 senior tykes, so 8 total tyke teams, 8 novice, 8 Adam, 6 Pee-wee, etc.
What age does tyke start at?
4 and 5s. You get the odd 3-year-old in
4
there
and
too.
5-year-old.
Yeah, and it's the same around the area. Now we're up to 13 tykes, and now last year it's filtering up to the other divisions. Like novice last year we went from 8 teams 5 years ago up to 12 teams. Adam should increase. Now, at the same token, with the Nickel City Hockey coming into effect this year, we will lose more kids that will go out and try out for an A team, or where they want to get some, let's say, on a more competitive team, for want of words.
Did you see this as a positive?
Yes, and the reason I see it as a positive, Bob, because you know, it's I'm on that board because I'm a member of the Valley East Board, and I do see it as a positive because, for one thing, the parents aren't. It's not about. It doesn't seem to be a money thing for the parents, because most of these kids have playground, but the new kids coming in, and the bang for their buck. I mean, sure, it will cost a few more dollars, but you know what? They're going to get. The mandate is to have 2 practices a week for the teams, and that's the ice that they're striving for. So, and I don't think any child can go wrong if you're on the ice 2 practices a week, full ice, and you know.
And that's what we'd call the rep level, right?
Yes, and that is rep level. Yeah.
So 2 practices, probably 2 games.
2 games, yeah, home and away, average.
4 times on the ice.
Yeah, 2 or 3 tournaments a year.
And you're not necessarily playing in your hometown.
Well, you're close enough. You're close enough if you're
in the city greater suburb.
Yeah, you're not going to be, if you're at the lower age levels, if you're novice or Adam, you're going to be, if you're on the east side, you'll be Garson or Valley East. But you'll come from Coniston to Capereal or Valley. You're going to have those 4 centers.
Yeah. House League isn't being affected in terms of the division of municipalities?
No, it's how every association now carries their own, still has their own house league system.
Okay, so in the Valley, as we move up the age groups into Adam, Pee-wee, and stuff like that, we still have the tier system and things like that?
We sort of try to get away from that word tier system.
Okay, so
yeah.
The old timer?
Yeah, basically what we and I'll call it tier systems because it's easy to understand. But basically, you take the kids, the so-called weaker players that need a lot more work. Take them and put them on their own teams, and they play amongst each other, games against each other, and they all get to touch the puck, as adverse to mix them all on a team where they might not get to touch the puck as much as the stronger player. And we joined up with Sudbury, Garson, Coniston, Cape, and all about in our house league system. I believe this will be our 3rd or 4th year, and we do now have. 2 years ago we had as many as 9 C. We call them C teams, okay. And last year we had 6. Sudbury had 1, Garson, and we had 4 in the Valley. And when these teams played each other at the beginning of the year, there was some lopsided scores, but it had nothing to do with the caliber of the player because they all did the same things. sometimes we haven't developed goaltenders yet. And as the season wore on, the games were fantastic. The games you didn't know who was going to, and again, it's got nothing to do with winning. But what it was equal. It was equal play. The kids developed, and they weren't getting dominated by one kid going through the whole team. They were all touching the puck. They were all making, and they were scoring goals. And we do this, the Novice and the Atom, between those 5 associations, 6 associations, I should say. There was 43 teams involved, and we broke it down into 3 or 4 divisions to match the caliber. So you weren't going out there on a Saturday morning, we hopefully, and you're playing a team that you're going to get clobbered by 10 or 15 goals. And that was the main thing, is to have the kids enjoy the game, because it is a game. That's all it is. It's a recreational sport.
And the body contact, the body checking,
yeah.
Being eliminated from the game at the house league level. What are your
I think
thoughts
it's great.
on that? I think it's going to work out well for the older group.
Oh yes, it's going to take about 3 years before we get the kids who have been involved in body checking from Pee Wee until their midget years are over. So the kids in Adam right now in Pee Wee that haven't had body checking, in 3 years from now they will not know any different. And where I find it's really is for tournaments. There's a lot of house league tournaments now. You have to run a body check and no body check in division, and to that end, Timmins we never get to play Timmins because we were a body checking area, and so when Timmins come down or Northern Ontario, we couldn't play them because they played no body checking.
And it was hard to take a body checking team into a no body checking tournament. I did that a couple times.
It was hard to take.
Where my teams were used to body checking, and then they had to go into a tournament, especially at the Pee Wee level or Bantam level.
Well, I always thought that was an advantage to the body checking team, because I've coached that level too, and I always, no matter who you pick, what level you are, you're always going to get a few kids out there that are afraid, that they stay with their head down. They're afraid to get hurt. I understand that.
Yeah, it's just the ones that are used to body checking. That's their style of play. It was hard. Well, we used to pick up an awful lot of penalties.
Yeah, well, you know what, you're right. You had some rough teams back then that built their game around body checking, and I don't. You know what? You don't really see it. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen any teams in the last 5 or 6 years in the Pee Wee Bantam or midget level where you, by watching the game, you could say that their mandate was, we're just going to go out there and we're just going to pound cleanly. Of course, I'm not talking about sending. You know that yourself. Just body check, and maybe in the third period they'll be a little bit softer. I can remember as a coach years ago, doing that with teams, because we had a rough and tough type team, and that would be your mandate before the first 2 periods. Let's soften them up and we'll score in the third. You don't see that as much anymore. Like the game has changed. Then back then you could teach the kid how to detain the guy at center ice going down in the wing. The game has changed.
Do you see? I think some of the critics of the no body checking would say that it makes it difficult for a person then to advance into the rep level where there is body checking if they're not used to body checking. I've never agreed with that.
Me neither.
That checking doesn't have to be part of the game.
No, because if you're an Adam and you make a rep team in Pee Wee, that's when checking started. I mean, I don't see where that's a difference.
But even a person at the Bantam level, if they're not used to body checking, I guess if they're good enough to be able to play on a rep team after playing no body contact.
Well, I believe if a boy coming out of house league makes a rep team, he's not making it because he's a hitter or he can take a hit. He's making it because he has some kind of a skill to offer.
Skills, yeah.
And then it's up to the coach who picks him to integrate him into the body aspect of the game. And if you got to do it, spoon feed him until he gets it. And there's going to be, he's got to crawl before he walks. He's going to probably get a couple of bumps. He's probably going to get a couple of penalties for doing it wrong. But he was picked because he showed something other than body checking.
I can see a lot of kids at the high school level, maybe at the age of 14, 15, coming into competitive hockey for the first time because there's no body check. These kids that maybe go to the playground rinks and have fun playing, pickup games may, get encouraged by their friends to come in and play on a team.
Right.
Now it's not quite so intimidating because there's no body checking.
I think what you're going to see, I really believe what you're going to see. You're going to see a totally different change in the coaching aspect of hockey now. Now that, especially in the house league area, and I think you're going to see it even filter down to novice. is body contact. Okay, where they're gonna, now you're gonna have to force, if you're a coach now, you're gonna have to show your player how to make contact without checking.
Yeah.
And if you watch any of the girls hockey, they're masters at it, and they're masters at it at an 8-year-old level, and it's just amazing to watch these girls play hockey, how they can ride the boy off into the corner, off the puck, and do it, and they're touching,
Yeah.
but they're not flexing a shoulder, and a lot of times the parents of the boys, they might be yelling for a penalty, but there was no penalty there. They see it as checking, but it's not, it's contact.
Yeah.
So I think we might see maybe a revolution in our coaching techniques as far as integrating body contact more and more.
It's probably going to boil down to education, because I think the easiest way I've ever seen it explained was that when it's a body check, it's the defensive player that's initiating the contact, and when it's body contact, it's the offensive player that's skating into the defense.
Yeah.
And when you, it's almost like basketball, where you've got blocking, where, you know, if the defensive player is in the right spot,
Yes.
then
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground,
Yeah.
and it's the offensive player is the one that's going to do the contact. There was one player that I saw playing with my son, Tyler Corville, who was a master at the offensive check.
Remember Tyler?
He was a master. He could carry the puck, and he would level players because he had the right move just at the right time.
At the right time, yeah.
To move into the defensive player and knock him right off his feet. He was I've never seen anyone who could deliver an offensive check carrying the puck better than him. And I think as we get coaches getting a little bit more experienced in how to do this, it'll be interesting to see if there are an awful lot of body checks coming from the offensive player, because really, if the offensive player is moving into the defensive player, it's contact, it's not a check. It's going to be
Right, yeah.
a little difficult.
To me, I'll tell you something. Last year was amazing. I had this little I won't mention his name here, but I watched him every game I was out there. A little 8-year-old boy, and he, you know what? He'd get the odd penalty for body checking, and I looked at him really close, and this kid was so intense. He knew how to ride that kid off the puck like. I could not believe it, an 8-year-old. I said, I don't even see 14-year-olds do what he can do out there. And yes, the odd time he got a penalty. And yes, the odd time they were a penalty, but you know what? Most times they weren't a penalty because the other kid fell down. But that's where it wasn't referees. It's nobody's fault. That's just the nature of the game, eh?
Yeah.
But I just admired him so much because he knew how to do that, and he's not a big kid. He's solid on his skates, but I love that part of his game, and I hope he never loses that part of the game. He'll still take the odd penalty, and he might be bad penalties or good penalties, it doesn't matter, and he might be warranted or not, but I hope nobody ever takes that part of the game away from him, because he is such an effective little player out there because he's so tough in the puck.
He'll probably be playing rep hockey.
Hmm?
He'll probably be playing rep
Yeah,
hockey.
I'd take him. I would take him just in that one aspect alone. He's advanced.
Parents